Have you ever had a time when you lost a receipt, but you kept it knowing that one day that you were really going to need it? That's kind of what today's gospel felt like reading to me. Like scrambling in the last minute to get things ordered. At Dairy Queen, if someone came and tried to pay with 5 quarters, 13 nickels, a crumpled $1 bill, and 75 cents on a gift card, we would take it, but that would take some creative accounting. That's today's gospel in a nutshell. Accounting, creative accounting, but with a lesson. In today's first reading, we heard from Amos, who was a farmer, a shepherd. He was chosen by God to be a prophet. During his time, the people around him, on the surface level, all seemed like they were pretty religious. They would go to temple. They would offer sacrifices. They sang hymns. But on the inside, they were corrupt. They were cheating the poor, trampling the needy. This might be a little true for us today. How? Today, Amos is warning about dishonest business practices, using scales and exploiting the poor. While Amos and his company they existed a long time ago, the message still stands true today. It's really teaching us how to treat our relationships with one another. If I take advantage and cut corners in a way that hurts somebody else, I'm not just breaking a rule, I'm breaking that relationship. Breaking a relationship, and God cares deeply about our relationships with one another. God wants us to care for one another, to treat one another with respect and dignity. Sometimes in business, as the general manager there, and it sometimes seems like it might seem like the easy way out to like do people dirty, but I think this week God is asking all of us to think of one another more. Amos was a simple farmer and a shepherd. He wasn't rich or powerful, so I can only imagine during his time what he was forced to put up with, what he heard, how he himself must have been cheated. Amos very clearly wants us to understand that God's justice isn't just about being in a courtroom or the laws. God's version of justice is about how we treat one another. It's about how we treat the people in front of us, those we work with, the ones we live with, and yes, those of us that are in the drive-thru line. Today in our gospel reading, we heard a shorter version of a much longer parable. It's a story that Jesus tells us to get our brains going a little bit. In it, he tells a very confusing story about a steward who is confronted and in fear of losing his job. He comes up with a quick scheme, a very sneaky scheme, one where he lies and writes promissory notes, giving money out there, giving things that don't exist. It was very sneaky, very dishonest, but it worked. Now the Lord wasn't telling us this parable today because he was proud of the steward. He was telling us this story because I think he was trying to highlight the steward's resourcefulness, his creative accounting. I guess we could say, when our backs are against the wall and we feel like life's pressures or work is putting us up against the wall, we'll get things done. We'll figure it out. We can get things done when we really want to. If people in the world can be so clever about money, why can't they be more clever about how they're giving love and forgiveness? I heard the other day that Elon Musk is going to be the world's first trillionaire. And it got me to thinking, like, what does that mean what does that mean for me? I don't have $1 trillion. And for one person to have $1 trillion and for there to be so many people doing without, I don't know, to me that was crazy. Jesus in today's gospel also reminds us that we cannot serve two masters. It's either we serve God or we serve the world. You cannot serve both God and man. Now, all these readings today, they mention like money, I guess, but it's more than just money. None of what we heard today is just about money. Mammon can refer to anything that bosses us around. For me, it's my phone, my schedule. Some people, it can be football. Yes, I said it, Cowboys fans. Truth is, Mammon didn't die on the cross for us. If anything, Mammon keeps the prices higher at the store, while God has always and will always give to us freely. We are invited to be in relationship not just with God, but with others. In the first letter to Timothy, instead of planning to try to get more, the writer asks us to pray. We are reminded today that prayer is one of the most beautiful gifts that God has given us. Prayer not only gives us the ability to connect with God, but I think prayer also gives us the ability to connect with one another. I pray, I know every day when I wake up, I pray for my family, but are we praying for those that we don't see eye to eye with? Are we praying for those people that we haven't talked to, the person that we know that did us dirty and we were so mad we haven't talked to them in 6 months? Are we praying for them too? I think the second reading today reminds us that God calls us to pray for everybody. We connect with God, but in prayer we carry those that we love, and even those that we love a little less. Someone may not be speaking to me at the moment, but we can connect with them in prayer. So what exactly does this all mean? I think one, it means that God is calling us to be a little more resourceful. Use the same quick thinking that the steward used in the gospel. Instead of using that resourcefulness when it comes to money or business, use it to build up God and God's people. Use that resourcefulness to build our relationships, to forgive, to reconcile, to reach out to somebody. Two, I think it means to check ourselves. Sometimes we have to stop and ask ourselves, who are we really serving? My words and actions can do one thing, but my heart can be somewhere else. And I think it is important for us to stop and check ourselves. Who are you serving? Three, I also think God this week is asking us to invest our time a little wiser. Invest our time in our family, in our people, and the people around us, and in friendships. These are things that are pleasing to God. Earlier I spoke about change. And this week I've been thinking. And earlier when I did the little pre-math lesson, I talked about how I started the week out thinking one thing about the readings, and yesterday when I was preparing, it said something else to me. I think this week I'm reminded of the change that I talked about. Change is hard sometimes, change in our lives, but that's what God is calling us to do. I think God is calling all of us to change. In God's kingdom, the real change that matters isn't the change that we keep in our wallets. It's the change that comes in our hearts. The change God is looking for in our lives is when we live honestly, we treat others with mercy and kindness. So this week, when looking at that change jar that you keep in your car, let it remind us that we're being called to God to change. Today's World Day of Peace, and I think it's very fitting that we remember the words of Gandhi. Be the change that you wish to see. We can't change the world, but I think certainly we can change